Madin Mazimba, back again. It's been a long time since I gave you anything new on this channel, but I'm back again. Now in this video, I'm sharing with you my views and thoughts on JP's latest album titled Gwara. Now if you rewind back to 2020 when I did the review for Okoyo, I became such a huge fan of that album. I loved a lot of tracks from the album Okoyo, and I even remember saying this is now my favorite project from JP to date. As the year went by, when I did the Proud Zimba Music Awards at the end of 2020, it also went on to become my album of the year. I just believe it is a very good body of work. As I was listening and enjoying that album, a major question arose in me, which was, how is JP going to better this one? How is he going to develop his sound from what he did on Okoyo? And at the beginning of 2021, when I do that list here, the project that I'm looking forward to the most in that specific year, I definitely included Jah Prayzah's project, because I very much wanted to see how is he going to better what he did on Okoyo. Like I said, I believe it was such a good body of work. Now also, as I did during the review of Okoyo, I remember I mentioned with JP is now sort of like a pop artist. And I meant this in such a way that when JP and his team sat down to create Okoyo, they looked around and took those elements, arrangements, structures that they already knew people loved from JP. They listened, they looked at a lot of his past music. If JP sings in this way, if he sings on a track which is structured in this way. And they also looked at music from the region. And this is the music that a lot of people are loving. And they incorporated all of those elements into the album, Okoyo. And that was quite a good decision, and it paid off because the album was a major success. But as you listen to the album, a lot of it took advantage of that familiar feel, because when you listen to a track, it's like, okay, this track sounds familiar, it sounds similar to that track. How this track sounds similar to that track, and in that way, that's why I meant he was sort of like in the pop kind of realm. Now going to this album, JP and his team, they took a completely different approach. This album is definitely the boldest and the most experimental project that JP has released to date. It feels as if they sort of like removed those shackles from JP. They just set him free, and they let him make music the way he feels it. And they took a couple of very important decisions, strategies for this album. Now, as I'm doing this review, I think I'll be going through all of those strategies. Now, the first thing, which was one of the main things that I loved about this album, the main strategic decision that they took, was in terms of production. Now, JP on this album worked with various producers. He worked with six producers to be exact. I counted all of them. And, this is something I've been calling out for quite some time. Yes, we know JP had that relationship with DJ Tamuka, but the problem with if you continue working with one producer, yes, you may have chemistry, you may have created some massive mega hits in the past, is that when you are making such a long body of work like this album is 16 tracks, if you are working with one producer, you get to find at the end, all of those tracks, they start feeling as if like one track. Is just one track, because each and every producer, they have their own way of interpreting music, their own way of doing things. So one producer may have probably one way of doing things. So only that one producer, in the end, all of your music starts feeling the same. You go to the same thing. That's what I remember last time. And this is something that I've complained for quite a number of artists. I think Killer T falls in that into that track. Winky D, he also falls into that track. But yes, there is a producer who's okay, with this producer we create hits. But now the downside is that all of your tracks, they sort of start feeling like one long track. So I definitely applaud that decision of JP Ashandini, a lot of producers, a lot of different producers on this album. Not producers into just one genre, but quite it was quite a diverse pool of producers. I know one artist who has been making use of that for quite some time. It's Freeman. Freeman, whenever he releases a project, he works with at least 4 or 5 producers. And if you look over the years, he's been one of the most consistent when it comes to releasing albums. And that is because he sort of, okay, there is a benefit to working with different producers. So I'm a huge fan of this decision. And not all those producers, they did quite a fantastic job. I thought no arrangement, not on this album. I enjoyed all the tracks from the first track, Vumba Mira, to the last track, Chikaruche. The production, it was just spot on. Now, the second decision, good decision that they made was in the team that they assembled and not to work with JP for this album. Now, this is also one thing that I've been calling out for I think quite some time. For example, if you take the great Chimurenga legend Thomas Mafumu, whenever Thomas Mafumu is going to create an album or to go for a live performance, for a concert, he never ever compromises on the team, on the quality of members that you pick for that certain job. If you go to a lot of his albums, but sleeve paper, the people that will be chosen, okay, we are based, but he always goes for those top artists, for the cream of the cream. And over the years, that has made his music timeless, and it has given his music that certain premium feel. And I feel JP and this team, they sort of went in that direction on this album. As I was reading the sleeve on this album, there are a couple of people on that special mentions list to get someone like Adrian Tate. Now, Adrian Tate is definitely a fine vocalist and a very, very good songwriter, and I'm sure it definitely helped JP in terms of songwriting and also in terms of the backing vocals. I also saw Taku Mukundu, the son of the icon, Mono Mukundu. And Taku is definitely one of the finest young guitarists we have in the country. And on this album, there are some. I've enjoyed some sublime guitar works, and I'm sure that is the work of Taku Mukundu, especially on the track mark. That's a beautiful, beautiful track, and the guitar work on that track is just out of this world. And I'm sure Taku was responsible for that very, very good guitar work. We also got Fatima. Fatima was sort of like a former backing vocalist for JP, but he definitely called let's work on this album, and she did a fantastic job. And also then we go to Ferdinand. Fairly, what can I say about Fairly? Fairly, she's just amazing. She is, I would say she is the best female vocalist we have in the nation today. She's just amazing. Everything she touches turns to gold. As I was listening to a lot of these tracks, I could definitely pick her voice. I could pick, there is this aura that she has around. She's just a fantastic vocalist. And JP and this team, they really struggled in engaging and getting Ferdinand to be part of this project. So in terms of the team, I think JP and this team, they really assembled a very competent team of artists to work with in creating this album, and also that has helped in the quality of this album. As I listened to this album for this past 2 weeks, I have to say the quality is top notch, and that is because of the team they have assembled, and also that decision to work with various producers. Now go to the vocals. Now in terms of the vocals, I think JP is definitely at the peak of his powers. He knows his vocals. He's so comfortable operating at this high level that he is. And I love one thing, he definitely manages to bring out the mood, to match the mood or the sincerity that will be needed on the various tracks, depending on the theme of that track. If you go to the track Nerera, as you listen to that track, you definitely feel that pain in Nerera kuti parutaura kuti zvese zvakatorwa vaya vamakasiyana musara pevana hatina kuzombovaona. You get to feel that pain. And then we also go to the track Umandara. You get to feel the concern in his voice. You get to the track Vungamira. You get to feel that hopelessness. That person who's good. I definitely need that protection, and that ability to measure, that ability to control emotions is one sign that is a person that is very much comfortable in terms of his vocal ability. And JP was spot on in terms of the vocals throughout. And then the backing vocals, they definitely impressed me. They were amazing. Like I said, Ferdinand is such an amazing vocalist. I remember when she teamed up with Mbeo and the Modzi Tribe, when they released the album, the Modzi, the Modzi Diaries. I remember when I did the review, and that was also my album of the year for 2019. And Feli added that magic. She just made the music to become so full, and I loved what she did with that album. I even mentioned and gave her an applause on that album, because she did a fantastic job. And again on this album, JP, she outdid herself. She was amazing. She was phenomenal. Whenever she was called upon, she did a fantastic job. Again, I have to give an applause to her. I think even Pagawaya N1, if it's Mkanya Katsukamuna vocalist, Ferdinand would definitely be top of that list. You would even think twice before why not engage a Ferdinand, because he's just that phenomenal. Now then we go to the themes. Now in terms of the themes, JP tackled quite a number of important themes. Yes, JP is that playful kind of person. He loves to make people smile and laugh, and we saw the comical side of JP on tracks such as Meda and Boy Boy. And then on the other tracks, he tackled some various social and personal issues. We have like the tracks that are Mandara, Nyerera, and then on other tracks, such as Anabvumba Mira, Ndodzungaira, Anambwende, Gwara, he tackled a lot of personal issues, some personal battles that a lot of people are going through in their lives on a day-to-day. So in terms of the themes, I have to say the themes, they are tackled very, very well. So, in a nutshell, I have to say that's it for this album. I think you can clearly see that I have been impressed with this project. JP is definitely operating at the top level, and he's so comfortable operating at this high level. For a lot of artists, they don't seem as settled, but JP is definitely settled. And one thing that I love is that okay, now I'm at the top, I know everything that I do on a church Friday. He's continuing to polish his music, he's continuing to develop his art, as we've seen on this album. He would have taken the route yakatora kudhara, just make the music and even want to fara structure yakadai, and I go nombozadza for music with my tracks and sound similar to that one. And a lot of people are going to love it, but he decided to take a different approach, to say, let me push myself. Yes, we have tracks such as Chigaro Cheushe, which takes advantage of that Zamzana vibe. And I think in that way, I'm going to bypass, because that sort of arrangement, it sounds so good. I mean, JP sort of like stumbled across a gold mine, because from the first track, Zamzana, I think this will be the fourth track on that sort of kind of arrangement and structure. We have Zamzana, we have Mwana wa Mambo, we have Sadza Nemuriwo, and then we have this track, Chigaro Cheushe, and all of those tracks, they sound good. There's something about that arrangement. And it has also sort of like created a spin-off genre, because there's that track, Shungudze Moyo Wangu, I'm forgetting the name of the artist. It follows Nemo to this structure. So it's that structure which is just irresistible, and he had to include it on this album. So I'll give him a pass. But overall, this album was quite diverse. It was quite very refreshing to listen to. Why not also take that on the series that he made? When it comes to art, you have to move people. Art is all about emotions, and as you watch that on the 3-part series, it definitely moves you. And for me, it's just a testament that JP is definitely enjoying his artistry at the moment. He's definitely enjoying his music. He's enjoying it, and he's putting his all into it. And the results, they're there for everyone to see. So this has been quite an entertaining album to listen to. So my overall rating, I give this album an 8.5 out of 10. This is a fantastic body of work. For 2021, this has become the album to beat. I know there are a number of artists who are now planning to release their projects, but this is now the benchmark for 2021. This is the album to beat. I've enjoyed listening to this album. So I know a number of you have listened to this album, and so go in the comment section. Tell me what you think about this album. What's your favorite track on this album? For me, I just love everything. Not that mbira, the amazing guitar work, Jah Prayzah, not on the lead or on the vocals, Ferdinand on the backing. It's a song that is near to perfect. I just love that song. For me, so that's my favorite track. I think at this moment I'll say that's my favorite track. So for you, do it in the comment section. What's your favorite track? What do you think about this album? And also, do you think Jah Prayzah has now entered the realm of the greats? I think we'll discuss that in a later video. After that, just like this video, subscribe to the channel. See you again next time.